And we're live once again on a Tuesday, different time zone, different place. Now I'm in America. And this is, oh, no, that's not true. I was about to say this is an American LinkedIn Live today, but it's not because you're in Mexico, Janet, right?
We're still international.
We'll always be international. We just feel it. So special guest today, I'm going to let Janet go ahead and introduce our special guest. It's so fun and exciting. So welcome, Sandee.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you're here today, what we're going to be talking about is if you have some major problems in your business and you just need a problem solver, then you want to be listening to us today, because our guest, Sandee Rodriguez, is, I hope I pronounced that right, Rodriguez, is a professional business solver. So let me tell you a little bit about Sandee. So I thought this was like amazing. And this is how she describes herself. She says, I'm a wife, a mom, a god girl, a teacher, a limey, which is somebody with Lyme disease, not the British limey. We've been corrected on that. A bookworm, a chocoholic, which I am too, a beach lover, which I am too, and an entrepreneur, not necessarily in that order. So today, Sandee, thank you for being with us. We're so excited to have you here and, you know, talk about all these things that you are. And it's like, oh my gosh,
where do we begin?
Got to figure out what's that one thing, right? But anyway, Jillian, you said you have something in common with Sandee.
Well, it was interesting to see that we're two things. Number one, we're both homeschool moms. And so there's this just affinity for other women who have homeschooled their kids. It's just a wonderful thing. And we have to laugh because now here in this whole pandemic, not that we're laughing in the pandemic, but here's all these people going, oh my gosh, homeschooling. And we're like, nothing to it. We did it for years. But yeah, we know it's good. So actually it's kind of cool because the world had to shift. And we probably homeschooled in a time when everybody looked down at us for homeschooling. And now everybody's homeschooling. So everything old is new again. So it's nice that we're both homeschoolers. And I was just telling everybody I'm about to see my son in 30 minutes, which is exciting. I haven't seen him for 16 months. So he got in the truck and he's driving from Phoenix to Las Vegas to come see me. So that's a nice thing about homeschooling. At the end, your kids love you and they want to drive in a truck.
Hey, good. My kids went to school and they still like to come and see me. But I'm sure that there's some special things. It's funny. I saw a video the other day of this woman who was saying she was 2 days into having to homeschool her kids. And it's like, my kids are going to not think I'm smart because I can't help them with their music and their art and all of this. So kudos to moms that have to do that.
And especially because I think homeschoolers try to teach their children to be entrepreneurs. So there's a blending of how all that goes. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's easier to homeschool than if you were working 9 to 5 in a job. So they kind of go together. And then the second thing that we share in common is both having these IT husbands, you know, and your husband does Divvy and my husband does Divvy. So that's really awesome that now we're going to have to get the husbands together because Divvy's sometimes a crazy beast and you need somebody to chat with. Yes. So I thought that was really exciting. So again, that's always the fun thing about LinkedIn. You meet people and then you find out the world is so small. We have such great things in common with people. So I just wanted to point those two things out.
Right. One of the things, Sandee, I'm going to let you talk in a second. I keep cutting you off. It's like it's all about you, but then I'm the one doing all the talking, and so is Jillian. But anyways, I'm going to ask you a question, and I put this out on a LinkedIn post this morning, so I'd like to have an answer from actually both of you. You both homeschool, which is a lot of work, and Sandee, you have like 3 kids. Jillian, you had 2 boys. So the thing is, how did you balance being a homeschooling mom, which is like a teacher, a full-time job, but also you had a profession. You were actually running a business at the very same time. So can you just give us any other moms out there or fathers who are out there, can you give them some tips? How do you balance that and keep your sanity?
Yeah, I mean, we are work from home, homeschooling moms, and balance was definitely tricky. I would say the number one answer to that is you have to have systems. You've got to have a plan for how you're going to do things. For me, I brought a lot of family in. I brought in older homeschooling girls to basically play nanny for me because yes, I have 3 kids, but I also have a 6.5 year gap between number 2 and number 3. So it was really challenging after I had a baby and I had 2 grade schoolers to keep it all together, run a business. It was nuts. I will not kid you. But having a plan, written school plans every day, intentional plans and systems for running at that time screen printing business, that was the only way to stay sane. How about you, Jillian?
I agree. Having systems and even having like a way for your kids to track what they have to do, when they have to do it, having lots of to-do lists and check-off lists, because they need that structure and that guidance. And people think homeschoolers just sit around eating bonbons and watching TV, and they don't. But also too, I did a lot of work in the community in terms of having homeschool groups and doing co-ops together. And
Yes.
that's something that people could be doing online. And for instance, we did like science co-ops and geography co-ops and art co-ops. You could do that as a group where one parent acts as the sponsor, the facilitator. And, you know, if you're doing an art co-op, you could say, okay, this week we're going to talk about Da Vinci. And, you know, and you could learn and have all the kids participate. And then kids for homeschooling, they want to learn and do. That's the best way with kids. They don't want to just read a book. They want to always, you know, do science experiments where you're putting Alka-Seltzer and club soda and letting things blow up in a, you know, a film canister and all sorts of fun things like that. Plus also too, I put my kids to work. I was like very selfish. I was doing, at that time, I was doing online curriculum development, and I was actually working for a charter school. And so I did a course on Lego robotics, and I had my kids be part of it. And I said, teach me how to do this so that I could see how a kid would teach a kid. And then, so my kids would go through and they would make the designs and I would watch them and learn from them. So I built them into my work and kind of put them to work, which gave them skills to then go. And by coincidence, my son, my eldest son, was hired by the same charter school as me to do curriculum development once he went to university. So it kind of, you know, give them life skills. That's the most important with homeschoolers. Give them life skills, teach them to do the laundry and make this all part of your schooling, not just reading books. That reading books is great, but you have to real world stuff. And
well, and the other point to that, and I love that you brought up the Lego robotics, and I don't have that in my bio, but I was a FIRST robotics mentor for 8 years. So
oh my gosh,
that's got another point of contact there. I love Lego robotics. I started 2 robotics teams in my town, one for the FTC middle school and one for FRC high school, because we didn't have robotics here. But anyway, that actually is a good point. They get a chance to really do a deep dive when they homeschool into their passions. And for my son, he ended up the captain of a robotics team near us. Not the one I started, that came after he graduated, but now he's working in the field of robotics. He's working for a startup in Pittsburgh called Gecko Robotics. And if he had not been a homeschooler and having that time, you know, and us figuring out how to balance it all, I'll tell you one big key too to doing all of this, and it's probably not as relevant during the pandemic, but I had a laptop. Having a laptop means you can work anywhere. So I would drive
in the bathroom.
Right. I would drive him 40 minutes to his robotics, and I would sit out in the hall or in another room and I would work. And he could pursue his passion. And, you know, you make it work is what you do. And prioritizing, Jillian, didn't you find that too?
Oh, absolutely.
That's how you get the balance. What's really important. And, you know, our kids played sports, but we weren't obsessed with sports. It was enough that they could learn some team sports. As homeschoolers, you don't get that like you do in school. So we were intentional about getting them out to have that, also that socialization experience. They get plenty of socialization when you homeschool correctly. They were in the co-ops like you're talking about. I was in a big one that had about 400 kids in it.
That's amazing.
We met
amazing.
Yeah, once a week for the whole afternoon. And so they took 4 classes every week and supplemented what we were doing at home academically. But yeah, balance is definitely achievable if you put the right systems in place and if you prioritize things correctly.
And I love your bit about the passion-led learning, because my kids had passions for things and they had adult mentors. So one of my sons wanted to learn how to play chess. it's not something I could do. And that's the one thing about being a homeschool parent. If I could tell you one thing to anybody watching about being a homeschool parent, you do not have to be their teacher.
That's
You
right.
are the facilitator to connect with the people that need to teach them what they need to know. So for instance, one of my sons wanted to learn how to play chess. I don't know how to play chess. I love chess, but I didn't know how to play. So I found a local chess club, which was senior citizens. And they said, bring your son, we will teach him.
That's
so
cool.
I had these senior citizens and they loved it. They loved teaching him. And he went on to Scholastic and he won awards playing chess. My other son collected stamps. There's a fancy name for it and I never remember it. But again, I took him to an adult club and he learned how to do that. Homeschoolers take their kids to Toastmasters and teach them public speaking skills. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about socialization, yes, it's great to get them out with other kids, but also get them with adults, mentors and this is, again, something you can do. There are online chess clubs that you can join right now so that if you're stuck at home with your kid right now and they want to learn how to chess, there are people that you can go online with and teach your kids how to play chess. So Legos, the Lego robotics, all these kind of things, they stimulate scouts. I was a Boy Scout mom, so I was, Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. And again, merit badges and all those things are a way to do passion-led learning where they're like, wow, I'm learning about first aid. I'm learning about this, all sorts of different things. So great stuff. It's fun.
Let's segue into talking about Sandee now.
All right.
So Sandee calls herself a professional problem solver. And so listening to what you've been talking about, Sandee, I'm wondering if all this homeschooling is what led you to be a problem solver, or was it the business that you were in? And because I realize that the business you're in now is not the business you were in then. So can you kind of give us some background on all that?
And you're exactly right. I think that force of necessity, I had to learn to solve problems as both a homeschooler and a homeschooler working from home at the same time with a home-based business. There were a whole lot of challenges. And I came into it out of a classroom. I was a fourth grade teacher for 6 years before I started my family. And then I moved into homeschooling. And while at the same time, we were starting up a screen printing business, which then became an embroidery business, which then also added promotional products. And I think being challenged to learn all kinds of platforms, and then getting into marketing and websites, and all of a sudden I had to know a whole lot of things and keep it all together and balanced and serve my clients the best I could. One of my mantras all along was to tell people yes, and then figure out afterwards how to do it. So if they asked me, can you help me with getting mugs and pens? And this was before we were doing that. I said, sure. And then I went and figured it out. So as a teacher, I absolutely love training and learning. I'm also a lifelong student. But, when you teach, you're trying to figure out the best way to convey the information to people in a way they'll understand it and get it and truly learn it. So I think that's problem solving all by itself. But I also just have a knack for looking at something and saying, I think if we did it this way, it might run a little better. It might be a little smoother if we do it this way, or more efficient or more productive. I'm always about innovating on process now and how things can be done better. And for whatever reason, and maybe it's just life experience at this point, I see things that other people don't necessarily see in their businesses particularly. And I offer these suggestions that lead to solving problems and eliminating roadblocks and end up creating organic opportunities for the businesses to grow.
So this is awesome. So when somebody comes to you, what do you typically do in order to help them? Because sometimes they don't even know what their problem is, right? So they come to you, they say, it's just not working. So what's the sort of the process that you use to sort of uncover what their problem is? And then, of course, obviously, how to solve it.
Right. And actually, that's a very big point that you bring out, that most businesses don't know what their biggest problem is. And that is their biggest problem, not being able to identify that. So, and obviously I don't know immediately. So my first step is I get on a Zoom usually with them and we have a conversation. I ask some questions and I let them talk and I listen a lot and I take notes and I ask more questions and I dig a little deeper. And if they're with me on a formal business assessment, then I actually have a structure that I follow, and I have 25 questions that we work through that begin with things as basic as, do you know how much money you need to make for your business to be living the lifestyle that you want, all the way up to, are you having an impact in your community, right? And so we go through those, and I listen and take notes, and as they share, things will surface. Like I actually had a call like that with a client this morning, and they're like, we're desperate. We need to get more clients, and the pandemic is killing us. And I'm like, I get that. I totally get that. And they said, well, we just want to send out this email blast. We're sure that will get us more business. And I'm like, I'm not sure that will get you more business. What you really need is a solid marketing plan so that you can have a strategy that you can enact over time, consistently raise your SEO, bring in more of your ideal clients, and so on. And I'm fortunate that they did listen. Sometimes people are like, well, no, I just need you to send out this email blast for me. Start an email campaign. I'm sending out specials. Well, I don't know about you, but when I start getting those, I start unsubscribing. I don't want that kind of contact with people who are just like, this is on sale. This is on sale. This is on sale.
They're yelling. They're yelling, buy my stuff. And you get like this.
So we go through the questions and the conversation, and depending on where we are in the process, I can give them a very detailed report, and they can DIY the results and say, okay, Sandee says my business's most vital needs are here, so I'm going to fix these things. Or they say, I am so busy running my business, I don't have time to do this on my own. Can you help me? And then I take the next step and become a business advisor to them, and I coach them through the process to fix whatever the obstacles are so they can level up.
I like that. Business advisor. That's amazing. That's a little bit different than a business coach, do you think?
Yes.
Okay, so can we talk about that? What's the difference in your mind? Because we think of ourselves as coaches. So what's the difference between a business advisor and a business coach, do you think?
It's an interesting, probably fine line, I think.
Okay.
I find myself, I advise people all the time, call me bossy.
Right. That's okay. That's okay.
You should do that. So I guess calling myself a business advisor makes it official that I can tell them what they should be doing.
Listen to me.
Yeah. Coach tries more to elicit what, pull it out of you. I'm like, nope, do this, do this, do this.
Right.
So I guess that's how I would define the difference between the two.
That's good. That's awesome. I like that. So when you actually get into the business advising, do you do things for them, or are you sort of like the little person over their shoulder saying, do this today and do this tomorrow and do that?
It's a little of both. It depends on the client and the engagement they want to have with us. So Sandee Solves is my newer brand, but DNS Designs is my 30-year brand. And that's a marketing and branding company that is full spectrum. We do physical products. We also do websites. We do email campaigns. We do marketing campaigns. So it depends on the needs of the business. And honestly, even with the business advising, if I go through an assessment with a business and I see that what they need, let's say they need video coaching, right? I could make the referral to you. I'm not going to attempt to advise them on how to do that. I'm by no means an expert. So I would say, but I know who does. And then I share my connections that way, because I want to bring all my friends along for the, float the boats higher principle.
Right.
And so I'm not arrogant enough to think I can fix every problem for every business, but I think I can pinpoint them. And then I can share them with the people who know. And like same with the LinkedIn, right? I'm pretty good at LinkedIn these days, but I know people far better. So I would be sharing them with the experts that I think could help them better than I can.
Got it. Right. That's awesome. That's our philosophy too. That's, 'cause you can't do everything.
Right.
You have to kind of know what your niche is and then really hone those skills and say, here's what I can help you with, but I can refer you out to other things.
Right. And sometimes I can help. I'm working with a lovely client in Texas right now who wants to have more impact. She's actually founded a nonprofit. She wants more time in it. And that means she's got to step away from a lot of the daily operations of her business. So when she came to me, her goal was to get her system set in her business so she could bring team members in and start delegating tasks. So we've been working on that for probably about 6 months. It's not a fast process, but she's taking everything out of her brain and documenting it. And just last week, she started a new assistant. And this woman is a perfect fit for her business. She's going to take a ton of work off of my client's table. And now my client will be able to do what she really has a passion for, which is to help the homeless. This is what her nonprofit is doing.
Wow.
She'll have the time to do it, and she'll be able to entrust that her systems will carry her business forward without her at the steering wheel. And isn't that all what we all want for our businesses? We need to
absolutely, absolutely. And that particular service is something that I see needed all the time, and that we know so many people that that they charge a high rate,
right,
and that they're totally worth, but they have a lot of administrative stuff that sends them into overwhelm. They don't really want to be doing it. It's not a good use of their time.
right.
And they need an assistant, but they don't have the processes in place to get them there. So you say, hire a virtual assistant, and they're like, I don't have time to teach them. Exactly. I only know how to do it in my head.
Yes.
So having someone like you that could say, okay, I can look at what you do. I can help you identify, put the process in place so that you could have a virtual assistant. That's gold. That's gold.
Yeah. So Sandee, I noticed that you've got a pilot program coming up, and it's called ACE, the Art of Client Attraction. Can you tell us a little bit about that, or is it too premature?
No, actually the pilot is running. I started it the first week of January.
Cool.
But I'm hoping to run cycles. My goal is 4 times a year. And ACE, the Art of Client Attraction was born out of hearing so many people say, I need more clients. I need more clients. I don't know how to get them. Nobody's coming to me. Nobody's converting. What do I do? And I thought, well, I've been studying all these different things that you can do to attract clients. What if I put them all together? And I taught all these different techniques. And then each person in the group takes the techniques that is most authentic to them and crafts them into an authentic marketing plan that they know they can execute consistently, and that is designed to attract only their ideal prospects. It's going to take a little bit of work. It's an 8-week program, but at the end, we're halfway through now. At the end, I'm confident that these folks in my pilot are going to walk away with a plan they feel comfortable they can manage, or they will bring on a new assistant to manage for them, because let's face it, marketing today is a full-time job. There's just too many moving pieces. But it's not just digital marketing. I want to be really clear about that, because we're talking, well, this week's class was on ways to network. And that's not just on the internet, right? And when the pandemic is done, we'll be able to get back to doing it in person. But we talked about a variety of ways you could do that, from being in a group and being visible and engaged, to what I did with you ladies by engaging on your posts and networking with you and your community. That's networking, but people don't look at it that way. So I've got lots of little techniques like that they're going to basically treat like a buffet. They're going to go down the line and say, I can do these. These feel comfortable to me. And this is when I'm going to do it, how I'm going to do it, who I'm going to do it for. And, really build some structure together, because if you don't know who your ideal client is and you don't know how you're going to get in front of them, you're not going to get your ideal clients.
No, you're just shouting in the ocean.
Exactly.
Nothing's happening. So is this done in a small group over Zoom? Like how is it structured?
Yes. So there's a couple pieces of the structure. Everybody can also email each other, but we do meet on Mondays for master classes. And then Wednesday morning and Thursday afternoon, I have 2 group coaching sessions where it's kind of an ask me anything. Just come and we'll discuss what we did in the group, or maybe you've tried something you want to know more about how to go deeper on a specific technique. Like tomorrow's coaching session and Thursday this week, I already told the group I'm bringing worksheets and we are starting to draft on paper marketing plans. We're halfway through the training. It's time to start thinking about which of the techniques I've taught you so far are you going to use, and what does that look like? How are you going to do it? We started the class with defining the ideal clients. So they've got that. They know who they're targeting. And I even had them do what we call social listening, which means go look at places where a couple of your ideal clients already hang out and listen to how they're talking about their problems and their pain points, and learn the language, because you need to use that in your marketing. And so then we also have a private Facebook group where they could come in and share their questions and challenges. And the I would like for more engagement over there. I'm not sure. I do frequent posting, but I'm actually hoping for a better platform one day. It's not my favorite place to be because Facebook is just distracting once you're in there.
Yeah.
But so yes, we try to have also a private group where we can dialogue about what's going on. But they have access to me pretty freely because I'm very vested in making sure that they have success out of this.
That's awesome. Sounds like a great program. Great program.
Do you have a platform that you use for that, or it's just all done by email, or like do you use like a program like Teachables or any kind of a membership site or something like that?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Since it was just a pilot program, it was my intention just to bring them together once a week. And like I said, what I've done in the Facebook group, though, is there are different choices of groups, and they have what they call social learning groups. And you can, yeah, I know Jillian knows that.
With the unit.
Right. So I'm putting everything up as units.
Homeschool like.
Yeah, I know. Right? The videos are all posted in there, and
perfect.
Even the notes, I put the notes in because I teach. So I'm also an Evernote certified consultant, and we've been talking about systems and staying organized. And Evernote is absolutely perfect for this. Y'all don't know it, but I knew some of the questions we had planned to discuss, so I have notes that I made in Evernote, so I can not go off, crazy, not remembering what I wanted to say. And so my whole life lives in there. It's where I organize things. It's where I put my notes for my classes. And then it's so easy. I can just share it. They just go into the note and they can see everything that we talked about in the group. And what's fun is when we're live, what else I'm doing is I'm doing it very discussion oriented. It's not lecture. It's not college lecture. I'll teach a bit and then I'll start asking some questions, or they'll even raise their hands and say, we were talking about networking groups this week. And somebody's like, well, do you know about, I think it's LePit? It's like, no, never heard of that one, but I'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
So they're helping me build this out. And so it's becoming a community database of valuable information and tools. And that's cool because I don't know that I necessarily saw that coming when I started the pilot. But I'll tell you, the April cohort, when they get started, they are going to benefit from all this. It's going to be a lot of gold for them.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm loving that. Yeah, so there was one other thing that I saw that on your credentials, and that is Fix This Next Certified Advisor. What the heck is that?
Let me show you my book. It's all tabbed up.
Right.
So Mike Michalowicz wrote this book, Fix This Next. He's the author of Profit First, a bunch of really phenomenal business books. And Fix This Next so resonated with me, the way I am a problem solver. This book brought structure to the problem solving that I do, and the assessment. So he offered the opportunity for a small group of people to become Fix This Next certified advisors. And I raised my hand really early on that one. So, so I that's the certification I have, but it's been extremely helpful. There's a whole lot of process, lots of case studies and ideas that help me help my clients.
That's amazing. Cool. We should put that in the comments, Jillian, about
Absolutely.
that book. I'd like to go check that out. That'd be great.
We're book hounds. We're book hounds. we love to read books. So yeah, always the next book to read, the next book to read. So that's a good one.
Make sure you have Profit First in your list. That's another outstanding book.
And is it by the same author or a different author?
It is. Mike wrote Profit First earlier in his book.
So should you read that first and then read them?
They're different. He wrote The Pumpkin Plan. He wrote Profit First. He wrote Clockwork. He wrote Fix This Next. He's in the middle of writing another new book. But he's been there, done that as an entrepreneur. And his mission is to end entrepreneurial poverty. And I can tell you, Profit First brought an end to my entrepreneurial poverty. It is all about how to manage your finances in a way that makes you profitable. And it's a little bit of the pay yourself first theory. It's also using the idea of using buckets. And I actually have a little course I teach on it now called Priority Profit. I taught it last week to people in my industry, because when I got started in business, I didn't have any idea what to do with the money. not properly. So
Right.
you find yourself robbing Peter to pay Paul or using credit cards. And I do none of that now. And I have more money now during the pandemic than any time in my life. And that shouldn't make any sense at all. But it's
Wow.
because of using this system. So
Okay, we're getting it. It's on the list.
I'll share my guide with you about how to implement it, because it's pretty high level. If you're not a numbers person, I was not a numbers person. I had to read the book, I think, 3 times. And then I had taken Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University.
I love Dave Ramsey.
I did too.
Awesome.
But I couldn't get it to work for me as an entrepreneur with irregular income. And that's what Mike's book did differently. It took these principles and shined the light on, here's how you do it when you don't get a steady paycheck. I was like, oh, this makes sense.
That's good. That's good. Wow. We need to, we're going to need to have you come back and talk about some other topics as
I can do that. I can do that. I love to chat.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Like even a collaboration.
Just that topic.
Just that topic. And also too, I would love if we could maybe sometime down the road do give us a tour, a behind the scenes tour of Evernote, because that is a program we don't use, although we've heard a lot about. So that would actually be an awesome thing to just kind of do as another day, is behind the scenes of show us how you use Evernote and what you use it for. Because it's like you hear about Evernote and I looked at it and I went,
that's everybody's response. They look at it and go, okay, I don't know what to do with it. And
it's like you need to see it in action.
Every other program you look at, it says, here it is, here's how you use it. With Evernote, it's like, here it is. What do you want to do?
Yeah,
I say it's like Play-Doh. What do you want to shape it into? Because everybody uses it differently. And to me, that's where the gold is. It's my extra brain. If I did not, it's because I had Lyme's and my business, we've been talking about balance and systems. My business was suffering because Lyme's attacked my memory. I couldn't remember deadlines. I couldn't remember details of jobs, and my whole business was at risk. And Evernote was what rescued me. I built it out into systems that now I still to this day use, even though my memory's better. But my whole brain is in there, and my travel, my business, my work, my family, you name it. It's good for everything once you understand how it works.
That's awesome. That's cool.
I think Jillian might like something like that, because she's a big journaler and likes to do brain dumps all the time. And
it's great for that.
So, yeah. So
writers
we'll check that out.
Especially love it.
Yeah. All right, Sandee. So if somebody was watching us and says, I need a problem solver, or I'd like to be in your April class, what's the next step? What's the call to action here? How are they going to find out about you that you would like us to tell people? Because obviously they can find you on LinkedIn, because we'll put that there.
Right.
And I think you have a Let's Connect, right?
I do. And I love Let's Connect.
Ooh.
And Jillian, you will appreciate the fact that I just shared this with my group in my ACE program. Yesterday, I told everybody to sign up.
Nice. Great.
It's a networking tool. How can you not, right? And we were talking networking. So I had to make sure I offered that to them.
Awesome. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, that's great. So they will put your Let's Connect.me in the show notes, and which will be great, because once they see that, they can find out how to find you on LinkedIn and all your other social media platforms, find out your website.
Right.
And is there also on your website, if they go to the website, will they find out about the next April class?
I haven't rolled out registration for it yet. So the best thing to do is probably to go to sandeesolves.com. And then, and that is SANDEE for anybody who's listening and not looking at how it's spelled. It's a little different.
Yeah.
My mom had a thing for E's. And so sandeesolves.com, and just jump into the contact page and say, hey, I heard you on LinkedIn Live and I want more information about whatever part you heard us talk about. And I'll be happy to get back to you quickly. And if you want to get into the April cohort and I get your email address, I'll make sure you get notified as soon as registration is open. It's going to happen in March.
Awesome.
Do you do sort of like a little webinar or something in advance to get people to know about the program before you start, or is it just done sort of word of mouth?
Well, for the pilot program, it was a lot of social media marketing and some word of mouth. But again, that was a pilot program. This time, I'm actually hoping to set up and run a webinar, probably somewhere towards the end of February, maybe early March, to give more information about what it's going to be, what it's going to include, and the experiences of the current members of the group, because that was my main objective with running this pilot program, was to obviously make them more successful, grow their businesses, but also gain their experiences and have some case studies of how well this worked.
Awesome. Right. Well, this is sounding like an awesome class, course, whatever you want to call it. It sounds like something that you got to roll up your sleeves.
Yes.
You know, don't think you're just going to watch. You're not going to watch. You got to participate.
And actually, I'm sorry, you're right. That's actually in my description of the course, is if you don't have the time to work on this, you're going to need 2, 3, 4 hours a week, then please don't sign up, because you're not going to be successful. So you're absolutely right. This one is work. Right.
So you got to be very intentional about it, which is very total cool. So Jillian, any last comments? Anything you want to ask Sandee before we wrap this up?
I think it's awesome. I'm delighted to meet you again. It's always wonderful to network with people, get to know people. Sandee and I we met through LinkedIn. We just started commenting and chatting and took the conversations into the DMs. And, here we are now on a live, and you've actually met a couple times on Zoom, the two of you, as I was busy doing all my stuff in Israel and packing up to come here. So it's just awesome. It makes the world smaller, and highly recommend Sandee. She's a great person, and just delighted to have you with us here today. So thanks for being here.
It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you, Sandee. I just love some of the ideas that you brought to the table for us today. So we'll definitely have you back if you would like to join us. We've got 2 topics now: Evernote
and those books,
and Prior
the book. Yeah, I'm excited to think about that book as well. So, all right. Well, Jillian, I'll let you do the close.
Okay, so we'll close up and we'll be back again next week. So thanks. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.